Hey friends, it's Judy Klock here at Stampin with Crafty Klock, your independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located here in Middletown, Virginia. I wanted to come to you today with sort of a redo of my beginner series because for some reason the internet, when I did this video the first time, it was just really terrible. So I'm redoing it and I hope that you will like this one better. Well, we're going to talk about the 5 tools that every beginner paper crafter needs. So let me swap out my screen. There we go. Okay, so the first tool that every paper crafter needs is a paper trimmer. So this is the Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer. Now you'll see it's got, oh, I got a little piece of paper there still. So it's got about a 7, I don't know, maybe 7 3/4 inch platform. And it's got an arm, an extension arm, and will open up, goes up to 17 inches or 43 centimeters so that you can cut our 12 by 12 paper because it's about maybe, I don't know, 13 inches long. It's definitely enough for a 12 by 12 piece of paper. So you have your markings across the top, 1 inch, and then you've got these lines, these vertical lines here are 1/4 inch increments. Then you've also got 16ths and 8ths. So you can really get down to a very precise measurement with this. You've also got some measurements on this side arm. Now I added a piece of basic white paper because sometimes when you're cutting and you need to use these measurements, let's say you're cutting a slit in your paper for a slider card or a fancy fold card, these were sometimes hard to see, especially if you have dark cardstock. So I went ahead and put a piece of white paper there to make those measurements pop just a little bit more easily. So now let's say you want to make sure that you have one that's got not only a cutting blade, but a scoring blade. Because let's say you want to cut this piece of paper, our standard 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock, and we want to cut that down to 5.5, right? So now we've got 5.5 by 8.5. And now we want to score this so that we can fold it in half. So we're going to put this, that left edge up to that 4.25 inch mark. And then we're going to take our scoring tip and we're going to score that. Okay, so this is very important because that will give you that nice score line to make it easy to fold so you get a nice card base. Now, once you have it scored and folded, the other thing you'll need is a bone folder or a paper bone. You want to take this and you want to really burnish that fold line so that you get a nice crisp fold line. That'll help your card just really kind of stand up and just, it will look much better. You could take it and you could certainly do it in half just by your hand, okay? But that fold line is not going to be as crisp. You see how thin this fold line is, the one we burnished with our bone folder versus this one that we just kind of did with our hands, right? So you always make sure you have a good bone folder so that you can definitely burnish that fold and get it to be nice and flat and crisp. Okay, so those were 2 tools. Then the next thing you want to have a good pair of paper snips, right? Stampin' Up! Has great paper snips. Mine are a little dirty. I need to clean them. But they're very sharp and they are great for trimming ribbon and also fussy cutting. Let's say I have a piece of designer series paper. Of course, I'm not going to find one that's got a big enough design right now, but here we go. Let's see. Let's say I wanted to fussy cut out, let's do this seal up here, okay? Let's say I wanted to cut him out. I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to use my paper snips to fussy cut my seal out of my designer series paper. And you'll notice that I'm turning the paper. I'm not really turning my scissor, right? We want to turn the paper when you're doing a fussy cut. See, here we go, turning the paper. Okay, so that is what you need a good pair of paper snips for, not just for trimming ribbons and such, but also for fussy cutting stamped images or images from your designer series paper. The next tool that we need is called the You Pick, or Take Your Pick. Take Your Pick tool. So it's got a couple of different ends. It's got a putty end, excuse me, and this putty end is great for picking up small embellishments. These are our adhesive backed rhinestone basic jewels, and at the putty end will pick that little jewel up. You see how it picks up that jewel? Okay, got that jewel on the end, and then we can put it down on a piece of cardstock. That's a lot of putty there. All right, let's pick up another one. We got that there on the end of our tool, and there we go. And that is what the putty end is for. Now here we've got another end. This is like a pointy end, which is good for paper piercing. And we're going to use our Stampin' Pierce mat when we do paper piercing. But if you unscrew it, it's also got like a spatula tip, which you can also use to pick up gems and such not. And it also comes with two stylus tips, a wide stylus tip and a narrow stylus tip that can also be used for scoring your paper. Okay, but because I have my paper trimmer, I don't really use the scoring tip as much. And there's also an add-on pack of accessories that you can buy for this, but that will be for another video because they're a little bit more advanced than what we're talking about here today. Now, I was also talking about our Stampin' Pierce mat. So this is a great mat to have when you are working with photopolymer stamps. The reason being, our red rubber stamps have sort of that cushion built in, but our photopolymers do not. And I apologize, I should have had both of these over there, and I completely forgot to grab them because I had to redo this video. Okay, let me see. Of course, now I can't find anything with a red rubber stamp. Here we go. So this is, oh, that's a photopolymer. Here it is. Is this it? This is it. So this is our red rubber stamps or cling stamps. You see how they have sort of that cushioning built in? So when you go to stamp, that has a little bit of give. Our photopolymers, which are the clear plastic stamps, do not have those. So there's no give in them. So when you go to stamp these, there's none of that cushion. So that's why I recommend that when you're stamping with photopolymers, you put your paper on top of your Stampin' Pierce mat, you add your stamp to your block, and then you just go ahead and stamp. Okay, now that will give you a very good image. Let's say if we didn't stamp on that and we just wanted to stamp on the table, not as great. Okay, a little bit lighter. This is a little bit darker because we got that cushion in there. Okay, so those are my 5 recommended tools for anybody who is just getting started. A great paper trimmer with both a cutting blade and a scoring blade that is large enough to handle regular cardstock, letter size cardstock, and the big 12 by 12 printed paper, what we call designer series paper. Next, I strongly recommend that you get a bone folder to really burnish those folds and get a nice crisp fold. Then I recommend a good sharp pair of paper snips so that you can have them ready to cut either ribbon or do fancy fussy cutting. And also if they come with like a safety cover, that's even better because sometimes you throw these in your craft bag and you're fishing around and then you're trying to get something out. If you have your safety cover on, you're not going to get poked or cut by your scissors. Then we have our take your pick tool. You can see mine is well loved because it's so dirty. With our putty end, we're picking up those small gems, and then our reversible end with our paper piercing tool, our spatula, and then our 2 stylus points. And then, of course, our Stampin' Pierce mat for stamping with our photopolymer stamps, or if you want to do paper piercing. I don't know if you can see it. I've done some paper piercing, probably not on this one, but you can see I got a couple of little holes in here from when I've done paper piercing. All right, so that's it. These are my 5 must-have tools for all beginning crafters. I hope that you found this helpful. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought of this video. Also, if you are not on my mailing list yet, there is a link down below in the description. Please be sure to sign up for my mailing list. I send out at least 1 weekly email with tips and tricks and tutorials in your paper crafting journey. All right, folks, that's it. Bye.